here's the plan for the day. We're going to get through some of the notes and then do a little bit of review, hopefully. All right? Oh, it already started. Okay. So one of the things that I had that I put on a memorization sheet and said I really want you to know is the fact that pi radians is 180 degrees. Now, I just threw that out at you yesterday, and some of you are thinking, okay, it's great. What do you mean by radian, Mrs. Ford? What is a radian? So I'm going to show you real quick what a radian is. Here's a circle, and let's say the radius of the circle is 6. Random numbers made up 6. If I took a piece of string 6 units long and wrapped it around the circle so that this arc length here was 6, just like the radius, the end points of that string would determine an angle. Would you agree with that? It's like a piece of pie. So the stipulation is that whatever your radius is, that's how long your arc is. The measure of that angle is 1 radian. So a radian is the angle, the size of the angle that's created by an arc of radius length. So if you had a circle, and let's say the radius was 4, and you made an arc that was 8, how big would that angle be? 2 radians.
Oh, so it's like whatever we would need to multiply the radius by to get the...
Every radius makes 1 radian. So every radius of arc length makes 1 radian. So you have 2 radiuses here. So the radian measure of the angle is 2.
So if it was like...
Radius,
12.
radians. See how they're kind of the same word? Because they come from each other. The radian measure is created by a radius arc length. Okay? Now, that is in contrast. This is the real mathematical unit. That's in contrast to a degree. Does anyone know how a degree is made, what a definition of a degree is? It's completely artificial. It's 1/360th of a revolution. And why is it 360? I mean, why didn't they make it 400 or 420? Because those crazy Egyptians were fascinated by 6s and 12s and 60s. That's why there's 12 inches in a foot. Why are there 12 inches in a foot? I mean, that's dumb, but that's what it is. Why are there 60 minutes in an hour? Because those ancient mathematicians were just fascinated by 6s and 12s and 60s and all those numbers. This is all that's used in upper mathematics. When you, beyond this class, all of your work will be in radians because it's a more mathematical unit. So we'll kind of mix. We'll go back and forth. Hence, this very first exercise that says, change 100 degrees into radians. Now, what do we know? We know pi radians is 180 degrees, right? We know that. So I'm going to set up an equation. I'm going to say pi equals 180. That's absolutely true, isn't it? Now, this is radians, this is degrees. So the degree measure they gave me is 100. So I'm going to put 100 under the 180, and I'm going to put an X under here. What it's saying to me is pi is the same as 180. So I'm going to figure out what is the same as 100. Does that make sense to you?
Do we cross?
Yes, we're going to cross multiply. Now, kids, will this part ever change? No, that's the fact. So every time you do one of these problems, you're going to have pi equals 180, always. Now, in this case, they gave me the 100. It's a degree, so it goes under the 180. And I want to know what the radian is that matches. So 100 pi equals 180x. Just cross multiply. You're solving for x, so we'll divide by 180. And x equals, now look, this is going to happen a lot. You're going to have these zeros. They're going to cancel. So you're left with 10 over 18, which reduces to 5/9. Don't forget the pi. So 100 degrees is the same as 5 pi over 9 radians. That's pretty easy. Let's look at the next one. We want to do negative 60 degrees. All right? So what do we start with always? When we're changing from degrees to radians, what do we start with? Pi equals 180. Now, where do I put the negative 60? Under the 180, because that is a degree measure. This is the degree. So if you're given a degree, it goes here. If you're given a radian, it will go here. So I don't know what that is, so I'll call that x. So negative 60 pi equals 180x. We divide by 180. X equals, zeros cancel. 6 over 18. Negative pi over 3, or 1 pi over 3. You don't need the 1, but you can put it in there if you want.
So we don't even have to put the 1, it could just be pi over 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Thomas?
So since on the sheet you gave us like 90, 60, and 30, we have just put...
Absolutely, you could have. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to have the sheet, but if you memorize those, you can. But Thomas, honestly, as you practice more and more with these, because, I mean, we got pages of this stuff, as we do more and more problems, 60 is a very special angle, and it's just going to occur to you after so long that, oh, that's a third of 180, so this must be a third of pi. So I'm going through all the math, but at any point when things start becoming automatic, they can just be automatic. You don't ever have to go through all these steps. I've done so much, like I know the next one's gonna be 7 pi over 6 just because I've done so many of them, but you guys are brand new, so let's go through the math. So it's 210 degrees, so I know pi equals 180, that's what I start with. Where does the 210 go? Under the 180. So 210 pi equals 180x. I'll divide by 180. Now these zeros, they happen a lot, not always, but a lot. So I have 21 over 18.
7 pi over 6.
7 pi over 6. All right, everybody okay with that? It's pretty easy. Make sure you're taking good notes because, you know, we're going to do some of this and then we have Christmas break and you want to be able to look back and, oh yeah, that's how you do that. All right, now number 2 is just the opposite. Now I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do number 2. We know that pi is 180. They want to know what pi over 4 is. Now, does that move make sense to you? If pi is 180, I want to know what's a fourth of that. Wouldn't that be a fourth of 180?
Yeah.
So pi is 180. So a fourth of pi would be a fourth of 180. What's a fourth of 180? 45. So pi over 4 is 45 degrees. Now that's a shortcut. It's the easiest way to do the problem. If that confuses you, you can do it this way. Judah?
So what you did, so you put, so pi equals 180,
Mhm.
then you put 180 under 4.
Well, no, I just divided both sides by 4 because the question says what's pi over 4, right? I did the 4 because the problem has that. It says what's pi over 4. Now I could also have said, okay, pi is 180. They gave me pi over 4, and I want to know what that equals. That's scary looking to some people, but you could do that. If you cross multiply, you get pi x equals 45 pi. So x equals 45. So you can do that. I think this way is easier. Let's look at the next one. 2 pi over 3. Oops. So pi is 180. What would 2 pi be?
360.
So 2 pi is 360? Is that right? Now I want that over 3. So what's 2 pi over 3 equal to? 120? Pi is 180. You want to know what 2/3 of that is. Multiply by 2/3. Multiply by 2 and divide by 3. Negative pi over 6. What would negative pi over 6 be?
-30.
Negative 30? So I don't know that we're all getting this. Negative pi over 6 is the same as negative 30. Let's try a couple more. Well, there's really only one more. Let's try D. Okay, start with pi equals 180. Start with that. Now, what is the angle measure in the problem? 7/6 pi? So this is pi. Let's multiply it by 7/6. Now, is this the problem? Is this what I want to know? That's the problem, right? So it's going to equal this. 6 goes into 180 how many times? 30. What's 30 times 7?
630.
30 times 7. 210. So the answer is 210 degrees. Kids, maybe this will make more sense to you. Pi is 180, right?
Yeah.
What's 180 divided by 6?
30.
30. What's 30 times 7? 210? Let me throw a couple more pictures. F is easy. What's F?
180.
180, that's easy. We're going to talk about 2 in a minute because it's a little, or not 2, but E in a minute. Let me just throw a couple more up here. What is, what's 4 pi over 3? Right?
60.
Think about it.
480 divided by 3.
Okay,
240.
what is pi?
180.
180 divided by 3,
60.
60 times 4,
240.
240. See how easy that is? All hinges on the fact that pi is the same as 180. So let's try, how about 5 pi over 3? Or 5 pi over 6. Let's do 5 pi over 6. All right, so here we go. What's pi? 180 divided by 6, 30 times 5, 150. Now, most of us can do that in our head. If you can't, you'll want to write it down. So you have 180. You're going to divide it by 6, so that's 30. You're going to times it by 5, so that is 150.
matter if you divide first and multiply first?
If you're not using a no, it doesn't. If you're not using a calculator, it's usually easier to do the division first, because if you multiply first, you get a bigger number. But it's completely up to you. It makes no difference if you multiply or divide first. I always divide because it keeps the numbers, like I said, smaller, but you don't have to. All right, one more. Don't say it. Let's see if we can all get it right. How about 7 pi over 3? What would 7 pi over 3 be? See if you can figure that out. How many degrees is 7 pi over 3?
What was the number at the top? Like when they're referring to the radio.
Nothing. It's coming from the 7 goes to pi.
You get a little
So
effort.
it describes the rotation of the angle. How many pies
So
we've got?
3 is your radius, basically.
No,
Isn't that the?
we have no idea what the radius is. That's just an angle.
So 3 is the measure of the angle.
No. Measure the angle is 7 pi over 3. You have no idea how big the circle is. Okay, what did you come up with? What's the degree measure of this angle? 420 degrees. Why is it 420 degrees? Because what's pi? 180. Divided by 3. 60. Times 7. 420. Right? So to change from radians to degrees, if you have a pi, it's easy, because pi is the same as 180. Problem number E is not that easy. Problem number E, we have to set up our equation.
There's no pi.
There's no pi. And since there's no pi, we can't do what we were doing before. So what we're going to do is actually what we did at the very, very beginning. Pi is the same as 180. Where does the 2 go?
Under pi.
Under pi, because that's a radian measure, and I want to know what the degree measure is. So if there's no pi, I can't do the shortcut. I have to go the long route. So pi x equals 360, and x equals 360 divided by pi degrees.
Do you not want us to solve that?
No.
Is that E? This is E.
E? Oh yes, problem E, problem E. I was thinking you meant E, like Euler's constant. No, yes, this is problem E. That's problem E. Pi was 180, so we started with our basic equation. Why does the 2 go under the 2 is the number in the problem. Why did I put it under pi? Because it's a radian. I'm looking for the degree. So pi times x equals 360. Divide both sides by pi, 360 over pi. All right, before we go to our calculator, because that's the next step, quick quiz, pretend over in the margin. I want you to change 50 degrees into radians, and I want you to change 2 pi over 5 radians into degrees. All right, so see if you can do those 2 problems real quick before we go to the calculator and type a little bit in. Yeah, and after we go to the calculator, we'll do some exam review. Jordan, did Did you get the first one set up?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Well, I shouldn't say set up, but I just wanna like guess. I wasn't sure all the way. So would pi be over 50?
No, we're gonna start with pi equal 180,
Yes.
okay? This is pi radians, this is 180 degrees.
Oh, so it's 50, the 50 would be under 180?
Yes, the 50 has to be under the 180. And I don't know what is under the pi. I'm going to figure that out, right? So 50 pi equals 180x.
Yes.
I'm solving for x. Canceling out the zeros. This time it doesn't even reduce. How many got 5 pi over 18 as your answer? Some of you? Alright, if you didn't, please tell me, what did you do wrong? What happened? Always start with pi equals 180. And then your degree measure goes under the degree. And then you cross multiply. Now, what's a whole pi?
360.
No, a whole pi isn't 360. A whole pi is, what's pi? 180. So pi is 180. Now I have to divide that by 5. So what's 180 divided by 5? 36? But then I have to times it by 2. 72? Did you get 72 degrees for that one?
I did the thing where you multiply by pi first for that
That's
one.
fine. Did you get
Because
72?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you get 72, you can do it different ways. Cool?
Why, on that problem, why does it just go to 5 over 18? 5
Because you can divide both of them by 10, right? Anytime you have a 0 over 0, you can cancel them out. Or 2 zeros, however many you got on top of each other, because it's dividing by 10 or 100 or 1,000, whatever. Alright, so now we're going to the calculator. We're going to learn some new buttons today, maybe. I don't think you've ever done this before. Think of an hour on a clock. An hour on a clock is divided up into 60 little pieces called minutes, right? And then each of those little minutes is divided up into 60 little pieces called seconds. The same exact thing happens with angles. You have a degree, but there are pieces of a degree called minutes. There are 60 of them, 60 minutes in a degree, and then 60 seconds in every minute. So, question number 3A says, take this degree measure and be specific about it in terms of how many degrees, minutes, and seconds is it. Well, I know it's 100 degrees, but I have this fractional part here, so I want to know how many degrees, minutes, seconds that is. Easy, easy, easy. Type in 100.4 on your calculator. If you go, for me, it's purple. I don't know, it's called your apps button. Look where I'm pointing, the apps button in the second column. See it? And written right above it is angle. So press second angle. And then go down to where it says DMS. Guess what DMS stands for? Degrees, minutes, seconds. Press enter twice, and it says this is 100 degrees, 24 minutes, and 0 seconds. So the notation is, one little hash mark is your minute mark. This is your second mark. And when I typed in 100.4 and DMS'd it, that's how you get degrees, minutes, seconds. You DMS. That's all there is to it. So the next one, 18.375, second angle, DMS. I got 18 degrees, 22 minutes, and 30 seconds. Is that what you got?
Wait a minute, I'm not seeing the DMS button.
Okay, there's no DMS button. You have to second angle and then go down and choose the DMS option.
Okay, I'm seeing
Now, where would this DMS option be located on the calculator?
It is in the apps. If you have to go to apps, second
What
apps.
about a normal calculator?
You don't do it on normal calculator. You have a graphing calculator. Done. End of discussion. We have a graphing calculator. Next one, negative 20.42. The negative doesn't bother me. I type negative 20.42, second angle DMS, and I get negative 20 degrees, 25 minutes, and 12 seconds.
So the negative does not.
Just shows up as negative. Negative's part of your answer. Direction of rotation. Okay. Now, last section, and we'll do some exam review quickly. This section is going backwards. Notice what they've given you. They've given you problems that have degrees, minutes, and seconds. So now we have to undo that. So how do I get degrees, minutes, seconds? DMS. Now we're going to undo it. So here's what I want you to do. I want everybody paying close attention. I want you to type in 132. Then I want you to go into your angle menu where the DMS was. And as soon as you go there, what's the very first thing you see? Option number 1. It's a degree symbol. Hit enter. Now your screen should show 132 degrees. Next, type in 11. Go back into your angle menu, and what do you see right under the degree mark? The minute mark. So click down and hit enter. So now you should physically see on the screen 132 degrees and 11 minutes. Hit enter, and it gives you the decimal. So the decimal is 132.18 repeating threes. That's the decimal value for 132 degrees and 11 minutes. All right, let's try the next one. 18 degrees, so 18, then second angle degree mark, 12, second angle minute mark, and then 13, oh crap. If you go, there's a whole bunch of stuff in that angle menu, but do you see a second symbol in there? This is the second symbol. Do you see that in there? All right, I have no idea why this is. Press second quit. So you still have your 18 degrees, 12 minutes, and 13 on the screen? Okay, now, I don't know why this is. This is the craziest thing ever. But look over at your plus sign. And above your plus sign, you should see the second mark. Now for me, it's in green, which means I need my alpha button. So alpha plus will put the second mark on there. And then press enter, 18.2036 degrees. Oh my gosh. Where do I get the degree mark? Second angle. Where do I get the minute mark? Second angle. Where do I get the second mark? Alpha plus.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. So, like, what are they labeled under? Because, like, I can't really, like,
Okay, because you're not pressing the buttons I'm telling you to press, Max.
I just press second, alpha, and then.
No, you didn't.
Dude, I haven't told this.
You press alpha plus.
You can get some more infos on there.
Yeah, if you press the buttons I tell you, it works better.
Like two
Alright, so let's go through the last one
So you gotta count
really
the-
slowly.
It's not apps.
Please, if you, unless you're feeling really confident, write down that where you're getting these things. Alright, so everybody's gonna do this together. Here we go. We're gonna type negative 152. Everybody's with me. Negative 152. Now, second angle. Enter. Did the degree mark come up? Okay, it needs to. Now, 18, gotta type the number 18, and then go back to second angle, but you gotta go down one to get the minute mark. So now you have negative 152 degrees, 18 minutes. So now we'll type 39, the number 39, and then we have to alpha plus, and this is exactly what you should be seeing right now on your screen. If you press enter, it will give you the decimal, negative 152.3108 degrees. Quick recap. How do I get degrees, minutes, and seconds from my calculator? I type in the angle and then DMS it. Choose the DMS. That gives me degrees, minutes, seconds. If I have degrees, minutes, seconds, I have to type them in and press enter, and it will give me the decimal. Okay? Alright, that's enough. We'll stop right there for now. And let's take a look at our review.
If you could fry down on like how long.
Dude, I don't want it.
The exam will be like the test you just took. It will be part calculator and part no calculator. It'll be better organized in this review sheet. I put stars next to the calculator problems. On the exam, it'll be two different colors, just like it was yesterday.
Mini review.
No, I'm on the actual review, which is the second page of the mini review. The mini review is just the top page. Okay, so your exam review packet, I am on the second page where it says exam review. Find all of the asymptotes. All right, I'm going to find all of the asymptotes. Any suggestion as to what I might do first, Corey? Corey says I should factor the denominator, and he is exactly right. So, minus 5 plus 1. There are two kinds of asymptotes. There are horizontal asymptotes, and there are vertical asymptotes. Anybody remember anything about either one of those, Corey?
Your horizontal is 5 and yeah.
Your vertical asymptotes are x equals 5 and x equals negative 1. Because vertical asymptotes come where the denominator is 0, right? Anything that makes the denominator 0 is a vertical asymptote. Alright, now What about our horizontal asymptote? That's when we compare. The horizontal asymptote's when we compare. Well, this one's a little tricky because the powers don't match. See that? But the big one is on the bottom, the biggest power. What does that mean if the biggest power is on the bottom? The asymptote's at 0. The purpose of a review is to shake you up a little bit so that you know what to study. So if you feel like I'm speaking a foreign language, you need to go back to section 2.6. Watch the videos, look at your notes, whatever you need to do, but this is section 2.6.
Is that always 0?
If the power on the bottom is bigger, it's going to be 0. If the power on the bottom is bigger, the asymptote will always be at 0. The horizontal asymptote will be at 0. Find the remainder of this division. All right? How do we do that? How do we find the remainder? Synthetic division. What goes out here in the box? -2, the opposite of that. When you write these numbers down, what do you have to be really careful of?
Signs.
Well, you want to include the signs for sure, but what else do you have to watch out for? Emma? If something's missing, right? It's real easy to try to trick you and throw in some missings. Remember, the first, I can't ever remember if it's 20 or 25. The first 20 questions, I think, on this exam are common to everybody. Every pre-calculus student in the school, honors, academic, everybody's taking the exact same questions. So it is entirely possible that tricky Mr. Knoll will stick in something here that you're going to have a 0, or leave something else, you're going to have a 0, so be real careful. All right, then what do? We drop this straight down and multiply and add, multiply and add, multiply and add. Question was, hopefully I multiplied right, the question was, what is the remainder? The remainder would be -51.
How do we write that?
This is going to be a multiple choice question, so just look for -51.
How many notes?
I don't know. I'll tell you when I get that figured out. Now, if the question were, is x plus 2 a factor, you would say no, because when I divided, I did not get a remainder of 0. I got -51 as my remainder. Okay, one more. We're going to find the y-intercept of this guy. How do we find a y-intercept of anything?
Good afternoon. As we come to the conclusion of this day, we're thankful for all the people that bring faith to our lives, people thinking about faith, and the people who provide faith-filled moments for us. I think about this people, what the scripture says, those who walk in the light, even when the light is gone and the darkness of the moon, the light is greater to the light, God will be there. So we know that nothing better than this verse. Going to sing, if you know it, if not, let's read it. Emmanuel, your name brings us peace. Emmanuel, you are one within our reach. Your light guides our way, your love begins today. Emmanuel, God is with us now. Go ahead and say something.
Okay, wait, gotta finish this problem. Yep. Here, we're looking for a y-intercept. What do we know about a y-intercept? X is 0. X is 0. So we're going to put a 0 right here. What is anything to the 0 power? So 28 over 3 plus 4 times 1? 28 over 3 plus 4? 28 over 7, what is your y-intercept? 4. See you tomorrow. Please be nice to each other.
We have a meet tonight
What kind of meet?
against Greenfield. It's at home.
Oh, wrestling?
Yeah.